Before we begin, a quick reminder. If this channel can hit 5,000 subscribers by July, I will make a video talking about the Kingdom Keepers book series. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the video. Think back on your last journey through the mansion. Can you recall the first haunt we encountered? And I'm not talking about ones who appear to us just as a shadow or as a voice or an apparition. The first one who appears in person in the undead flesh. There's one fellow who sticks out above the rest of the pre-seance ghosts. The man in the coffin. Who is this poor soul, and how did he get stuck in such a bad situation? Lean back in your doom buggy and let's find out together. Every once in a while, you'll see lists on the internet of people's greatest phobias. What tends to rank really high is something called taphophobia, the fear of being buried alive. What if you're not all dead when you're laid to rest? You'd be trapped in your coffin with no way out. If you're already claustrophobic, you're gonna have a bad time. And if you want to try to escape, you'd have only limited space and oxygen to do so. Yeah, pretty scary stuff. This fear is as old as dirt. People have been stressing about it for a very long time. In the days before advanced medicine could tell you if someone was all the way dead, the fear wasn't entirely unfounded. And there are some documented cases of premature burials in history. These reports are not representative of the whole, and premature burials likely weren't common even in the back then times. But that didn't mean the fear wasn't there. People like Chopin, Hans Christian Andersen, and even George Washington took precautions to make sure they were really dead before they were laid 6 feet under. If you ever walked through old cemeteries, keep your eyes open for a little bell on the ground. Those were set up in case of a premature burial. A little string was attached to the person being buried, and they could ring the bell to alert anybody nearby of their predicament. And Poe used that fear to spearhead some of his scariest works, like his 1844 short story, The Premature Burial. Nowadays, medical science has advanced, and the likelihood of it happening is drastically lower. Though nothing in science is ever 100% certain, so, have fun sleeping tonight, kids! If you look through available concept art, there isn't a lot of precedence for the coffin scene. There are a couple renderings, but not a lot. What you do see, however, is a room in a house, a conservatory. This is a room with glass walls and a glass ceiling, fairly common in Victorian-era houses, usually to display rare plants. Many pieces of concept art contained a room like this. The last thing you'd expect to see in here is a coffin. However, later renderings of the scene included one. Some have speculated that it's an ironic choice. Conservatories are places for life, and here's a dead guy. Others think that it's just playing to audience expectations. It's a haunted house, so of course there'd be a coffin in here. Whatever the case, the scene eventually made it into the mansion. We encountered the coffin early in our journey. We've recently boarded our doom buggy, and the ghost host told us to listen. As we proceeded through the scene, the doom buggies turned around to face the conservatory. It looked like a funeral had just taken place, what with the wreaths and the flowers. However, we see that the deceased hasn't passed on. He's pried his coffin open, one that had been nailed shut, with his bare hands, desperate to escape and begging for help, all while the raven caws next to him. His pleas were provided by Imagineer Exitencio, who also wrote the attraction script. The man in the coffin serves two main purposes in the attraction. All of the previous ghost sightings might have been easily explained away. There's some amount of plausible deniability there, even if it chalks up to your mind playing tricks on you. That's not the case with the coffin occupant. Here, we see someone desperately trying to escape their coffin, which has been nailed shut. There's no earthly explanation. Our worst fears are confirmed. Ghosts are real. It also thematically sets up the upcoming scene, the corridor doors. One guy trying to break out of his coffin might not mean anything, but then you enter a tight hallway where everything is trying to come out into the hall. Plus, the man in the coffin is more desperate in pleading. Whatever's behind those doors is a lot more aggressive. What are they gonna do if they get out of there? Not helping this is the lack of narration, leaving you feeling completely isolated and alone. It's probably the scariest part of the entire ride, leaving you anxious for what might be around the next corner. All of it predicated on the man in the coffin. This scene only exists at the base Haunted Mansions. Phantom Manor has the Phantom Piano player in its spot, and Mystic Manor does have a conservatory, but it's home to carnivorous plants. He is in the mansion all year round, though, appearing in Haunted Mansion Holiday, though the scary Teddy is nailing his coffin shut, intending to make it a Christmas present. So who is this poor sap that got stuck in there? He's another character that's had a few identities over the years. The SLG comics told his story in the tale Blueprint for Murder. Mr. Davis is hired by William Gracie to build the mansion alongside his partner, Mr. Coates. Davis has a very eccentric plan with all kinds of traps and mazes put into the mansion. Worried that he would outshine him, Coates sealed him away in a coffin, leaving him to rot. Mr. Davis is, of course, named for Imagineer Mark Davis. If you visited the mansion during Mickey's Not So Scary, you might have gotten to meet Madame Carlotta or Madame Renata, a pair of twins and the nieces of Master Gracie. They sat on the lawn outside the mansion and talked to guests attending the party, accompanied by the butler, Broom. They both dated a man named Billy Bob. They fought over him, culminating in them falling down to their deaths. As for Billy Bob, they landed on top of him. Depending on what the actresses say, he was either trapped in the coffin after they fell on him, or he was just put in there after he died. For a while, Disney.com hosted a game called The Haunted Mansion: The Black Widow Bride. You played as one of the hitchhiking ghosts going around the mansion to help Constance's husbands. One of them is a guy named Frank. The poor bastard ended up stuck in the coffin, like in the ride. If you want to play the game today, you're SOL because Flash is dead. More on that another day. An allusion to the man in the coffin can be found in the film during the mausoleum scene. Jim and his daughter Megan are going down into the mausoleum to find a key. It's located in a coffin right in the middle of the room. However, after taking the key, the occupants rise from their graves and attack. It's pretty easy to draw a line from a man clawing his way out of a coffin to a horde of zombies doing the exact same thing. Plus, some have interpreted the man as being not a ghost, but a zombie, so the connection goes further. This is also hands down my favorite scene in the movie. The zombies look amazing, they're so grisly and macabre, the setting is cool, I love it. Anything else of note? You can find him in the Haunted Mansion level of Disneyland Adventures in a blink and you'll miss it cameo. The scene has been portrayed in almost every piece of Haunted Mansion media, so he is in all those storybooks and comics. And if you go on the Skyliner at Walt Disney World, you might get to board a carriage with him on it. The conservatory scene is one of the most iconic in the attraction, and for good reason. It holds great significance to the ride story and our experiences while going through it. You can see why it gets shown in every single promotional video about the Haunted Mansion ever made. So, hats off to him. His place in the mansion is cemented. But we mustn't linger too long here, as we should continue with our tour. So please sit back in your doom buggy and we will proceed in the next episode. Thanks for watching.